This presentation will discuss the intent, implementation and impact of a unit of work on tennis in physical education taught at Key Stage 1. UNESCO is the United Nations agency mandated to promote physical education and sport through concerted, collaborative and participatory action to support the rounded development of every individual. It describes sport and physical education as essential to youth, to healthy lives, to resilient societies, and to the fight against violence. Through its QPE guidelines, it builds on three central values: equality, safeguarding, and meaningful participation to ensure inclusive policy and the physical literacy of all pupils. The UNESCO Charter of Physical Education and Sport declares that the practice of physical education and sport is a fundamental right for all and forms an essential element of the educational system. The National Curriculum for Physical Education aims to develop competence to excel in a broad range of physical activities, be physically active for sustained periods of time, engage in competitive sports and activities, and lead healthy, active lives. In the national curriculum, the main elements of physical education that Key Stage 1 pupils should be taught include mastering basic movements, including running, jumping, throwing and catching, as well as developing balance, agility and coordination, and begin to apply these in a range of activities. It also states that Key Stage 1 pupils should participate in team games, developing simple tactics for attacking and defending, as well as performing dance using simple movement patterns. This is emulated in this table that shows some of the elements that need to be covered under Key Stage 1, some of which are relevant to tennis, such as movement, using skills techniques, cooperation, competition, games, tactics, and even challenge, and following some of those things that are under the Key Stage 1 heading just there. The importance of physical education is quite clear in the alarming statistics that show that 15% of 4 to 5-year-old children were obese last year and an additional 13% overweight, as well as a quarter of children in the Year 6 range as obese and a further 15.4% of children of this age range classified as overweight. In a bid to tackle the childhood obesity crisis, the government launched a childhood obesity action plan in 2016 in order to bring down those increasing obesity rates. The plan states that primary school children should be getting at least 1 hour of moderate to vigorous physical activity a day, which is currently not being met. As the obesity crisis increases, so does that motivation and that participation that come from children that are overweight and obese, which is somewhat of a catch-22 situation. Alongside that, girls are less likely to get involved in PE and feel more self-conscious in PE, and there's somewhat of a bad relationship for a lot of pupils with physical education. However, it's important that we try and turn this relationship around, as there are so many other benefits to physical activity, from muscle and bone strength, physical and mental health, improved quality of sleep, maintenance of an already healthy weight, as well as an increase in academic performance. Harris argues that PE should be made a core subject along that of maths, science and English, as it makes a significant contribution to the spiritual, moral, social and cultural development of children. The spiral PE model is an adaptation of Bruner's spiral curriculum theory model. The transferable skills are taught in the spiral curriculum, meaning that we look to embed and contextualize the skills during each academic year. Then, as they move up through the school, there is a vertical increase in the challenge levels in each of the skill areas. For my project, I will be looking at Year 2, which is highlighted on the left-hand side. To the right of this, you can see a ring, which is colour coordinated with agility, balance, and coordination, which I will be focusing on. This is a table of a further breakdown of those elements and what I will be applying to my tennis sequence of lessons. For some children, PE is the best lesson of the week, a chance to leave the desk behind, get outside, and enjoy a run around with friends. For others, it is frequently a miserable experience, a time when they feel degraded, embarrassed, and may even experience physical pain. For this intention, I intend to create a sequence of tennis lessons that increase active participation through enjoyment and increased inclusivity. Increasing the enjoyment of PE doesn't have to be difficult. Research shows that simple adjustments can make PE enjoyable for most pupils. A change in emphasis away from competitive sport can swiftly reduce the bullying of less able children, and by prioritising participation over excellence, can dramatically increase the confidence and participation of those less skilled. If teachers shout or criticise poor performance, it can damage the confidence of even the most skilled players, so this is something to bear in mind. By looking at Graham's skill themes used in sports table, it's clear that there are various skill themes that can be utilised for tennis to ensure children become sufficiently competent in basic motor skills. This is important if they are eventually going to enjoy playing sports or games as teens and adults. In primary school, the emphasis is placed on practicing motor skills rather than learning rules or the structure of sports. Skill themes are subdivided into three categories: locomotor, non-manipulative, and manipulative skills. Children who possess inadequate motor skills are often relegated to a life of exclusion from the organised and free play experiences of their peers, and subsequently to a lifetime of inactivity because of their frustrations in early movement behaviour. The wheel is intended to show how the skill themes and movement concepts interact with each other. Movement concepts describe how an action is performed. They are also subdivided into three categories: space awareness, effort, and relationships. In primary school, movement concepts are taught before the skill themes, but they work hand in hand. For my implementation, I will be looking at inclusivity, creativity, and assessment. High-quality development physical education is, by definition, designed to meet the needs of every child. If this is so, then differentiation of task will be a central teaching strategy used to achieve this. Adjustments can be made to a wide range of task parameters, commonly shortened to the acronym STEP, which is illustrated in this slide. This was beneficial in considering elements which could be changed within tasks to meet specific learning needs, although it does not include more subtle adjustments such as vocabulary, learning resources used to scaffold learning, or plan for use of support staff to facilitate learning. However, I took these factors into consideration when planning my sequence of lessons to counteract this. Meaning making in primary physical education means that the learner gains greater understanding of his or her body through time for play, experimentation, and exploration. Play and exploration are essential to physicality and creativity, and I'll be utilising this exploratory narrative while creating my sequence of tennis lessons for this reason. For my implementation of assessment, I'll be using the generic level of skill proficiency model. This model works from pre-control level right through to proficiency level, as you can see by the table on the slide. The generic levels of skill proficiency provide a relatively quick and easy way to assess the abilities of entire classes of children. It applies to the skill themes as opposed to the movement concepts, and serves as a guide to matching the difficulty of a task to the ability of the students so they can have success and yet still be challenged. This is a really good assessment tool that can also allow for inclusivity of different ability of players, as modifying an activity's degree of difficulty can provide experiences that challenge, include, and satisfy all players, and can be designed on a continuum of simpler to more difficult. Perhaps the simplest way of introducing degree of difficulty is in the movement category. All movement skills can be separated into several parts. For instance, a tennis serve has the following components: stance, grip, ball toss, backswing, forward swing, ball contact, follow through. Altering any of these can affect a person's performance. In addition to the movement tasks, factors in other categories of the activity design model can also either limit or facilitate a person's performance. In tennis, other examples include the size of the playing area, the size and type of racket, the height of the net, and the weight and diameter of the ball, and the number of players on each court. In conclusion, rising obesity levels has returned the focus to PE to its potential as a vehicle for promoting health. Despite the UK government's efforts in tackling the obesity crisis with the introduction of the Childhood Obesity Action Plan, more must be done to fulfil the recommended 1 hour of activity a day, as obesity levels continue to rise. As suggested by Harris, a valid solution could be the implementation of physical education as a core subject, alongside maths, English and science. It would be a beneficial option as it provides a range of physical, social and psychological health benefits and helps to address serious and growing childhood health conditions such as type 2 diabetes and poor mental health. Importantly, it should be reiterated that many studies have found a direct correlation between increased physical activity and academic performance, and even violence prevention. However, if physical education was to become a core subject, in order to ensure pupils are actively engaged, a change in emphasis away from competitive sport will be beneficial in safeguarding inclusivity of overweight or less able children. Participation should also be prioritised over skill, as this would increase confidence and ultimately increase participation in those that are less likely or less confident, less skilled or less confident. Ensuring children master motor skills in the early stages should also be prioritised to prevent what Graham describes as a lifetime of inactivity because of their frustrations in their early movement behaviour. It should also be considered that without thorough inclusive planning, pupils who already feel isolated and uninterested in physical education could be further pushed as PE time increases through core implementation, and so careful usage of inclusivity methods such as Pickham and Price's STEP model will be more essential than ever.